Every year, millions of gardeners quietly give up on their dream of growing fruit, convinced their space is too small, their soil is too poor, or their climate simply will not cooperate. But here is the secret that changes everything. With a row of pots on a balcony, a few containers on a concrete patio, or even a single deep tub on a rooftop, you can grow a genuine miniature orchard that produces far more fruit than you ever imagined. Modern dwarf varieties and decades of cold-hardy breeding have made container fruit growing easier and more reliable than ever before. You control the soil completely. You can chase the perfect sunlight with a simple turn of a pot, and when a bitter winter storm arrives, you simply roll your trees to safety. Today, we are counting down the 15 best dwarf fruit trees and shrubs for gardeners in zones 6 through 9. And trust me, do not take your eyes off the screen, because the #1 spot is a fruit so strange, so rare, and so delicious that once you taste it, you will never look at container gardening the same way again. Let's dive in. Kicking off our list at number 15 is a berry that has been treasured in Asia for thousands of years, the goji berry. Despite its exotic reputation, this is one of the most forgiving fruit plants you can place in a pot, thriving in everything from Zone 5 to Zone 9. The goji grows as a graceful, arching shrub that practically drowns itself in dangling clusters of bright red, teardrop-shaped berries through the summer and into autumn. Give it a 10 to 15-gallon pot, a sandy, sharply draining soil mix, and the most brutal full sun you can find, and it will reward you for over a decade. It is completely self-fertile, so a single plant is all you need, and it begins producing heavy flushes of fruit within just 1 to 2 years. Harvest the berries on a dry day, the moment they turn a deep glowing red and soften slightly at the touch. Eat them fresh off the branch, toss them into tea, or dry them into the chewy red raisins that have powered traditional Chinese medicine for centuries. And that reputation is backed by real science. A clinical trial at the University of California, Davis, found that eating just a handful of dried goji berries every day measurably increased the density of the protective pigments in the human retina, shielding aging eyes from deterioration. For a fascinating botanical fact, the goji is a member of the nightshade family, making it a direct cousin of the tomato and the pepper, and its scientific name, Lycium barbarum, was chosen in honor of the ancient region of Lycia, an early center of medicinal plant knowledge. Sliding into number 14 is the earliest fruit of the entire spring, the honeyberry, also known as haskap. While it has the delicate taste of a wild blueberry, this plant is built like a tank, with the extraordinary ability to survive temperatures down to 55 degrees below zero. That means it will laugh off anything zones 6 through 9 can possibly throw at it, especially in the cooler half of the range. The honeyberry forms a compact, vase-shaped shrub that explodes with powder blue, grape-sized berries in late spring, weeks before strawberries are even thinking about ripening. A 15-gallon pot filled with rich, moisture-retentive but perfectly drained soil is ideal. Here is the one secret you must remember. Honeyberries set dramatically more fruit when 2 different varieties are planted together, so order a pair to guarantee a heavy crop. You can expect the bushes to establish in just 2 to 3 years. Harvest is effortless. Simply wait until the berries turn a dusty deep blue with that powdery natural bloom and pull away cleanly with the gentlest tug. Eat them fresh by the handful, fold them into yogurt, or press them into a syrup that tastes like the first warm day of the year. Nutritionally, the honeyberry delivers serious levels of vitamin C and the same protective anthocyanin pigments that made the blueberry famous. And for a beautiful cultural fact, the name haskap comes from the indigenous Ainu people of northern Japan, who called this berry the fruit of long life and lasting youth. At number 13, we have one of the most self-sufficient plants on Earth, the gumi berry. Native to the forests of East Asia, this tough little shrub produces hundreds of glossy, deep red berries, speckled with fine silver dots, suspended against leaves that shimmer with a metallic silver underside. The gumi thrives across zones 4 through 9, with roots that can survive brutal cold down to 20 degrees below zero. A 15-gallon pot with a light, well-drained soil is all you need, because this plant is famously indifferent to poor conditions, heat, and drought. But here is its true superpower. The gumi belongs to a family of plants that live in a living partnership with bacteria in their roots, pulling nitrogen directly from the air and converting it into fertilizer. While every other container plant around it slowly starves, the gumi is quietly feeding itself and enriching the soil around it. A single bush is self-fertile enough to fruit reliably, and it will begin producing heavy clusters within 2 to 3 years. Harvest in early summer, the moment the berries turn a brilliant red and feel soft and plump. The flavor is a perfect sweet tart explosion, like a raspberry crossed with a cherry, eaten fresh, simmered into jam, or fermented into a deep pink country wine. To back up its value, nutritional analyses have shown the gumi is one of the very few fruits outside the tomato family that naturally packs a meaningful dose of lycopene, the celebrated heart-protective antioxidant. And for a wild fact, the gumi's silvery, shimmering foliage made it a favorite in ancient Chinese gardens, where it was planted for beauty centuries before its fruit was truly appreciated. Coming in at number 12 is a native North American powerhouse that most gardeners have never met, the black chokeberry, known botanically as Aronia. This rugged shrub is hardy from zone 3 through 8, grows happily in almost any soil, shrugs off pests like they do not exist, and is completely self-fertile. In a 15 or 20-gallon pot, it forms a tidy, upright bush that shifts through the seasons, from spring's sprays of white flowers, to summer's heavy clusters of glossy black berries, to an autumn canopy of flaming scarlet and orange. Here is the honest truth about Aronia. The berries are so intensely astringent that nearly nobody eats them raw, but that astringency disappears the moment you cook them, and their juice, jam, syrup, and wine are legendary. Wait until late summer, when the berries turn a deep, inky purple-black, harvest them, and let the kitchen transform them. The payoff for your health is staggering. Scientific measuring has consistently ranked Aronia as the fruit with the highest antioxidant capacity of any common fruit on Earth, with laboratory values exceeding 16,000 ORAC units, far beyond blueberries, acai, and goji. For a biological fact that explains its color, the name melanocarpa literally means black fruit, and the berries are so densely packed with pigment that the food industry now extracts Aronia color to naturally dye everything from juices to yogurt. In short, the black chokeberry is the quiet overachiever of the fruit world, and it will thrive on a patio that would kill almost anything else. At number 11, we bring in one of the most famous medicinal fruits in history, the elderberry. The elder is a vigorous, forgiving shrub that spans zones 3 through 9, making it one of the only plants on our list that feels completely at home in every corner of our range. It grows fast, loves a generous 20-gallon pot, tolerates ordinary soil, and rewards you with enormous flat clusters of creamy white flowers in early summer that bees cannot resist. Here is the growing secret. Elderberries are partially self-infertile, so plant 2 different cultivars side by side and you will see dramatically heavier crops. The bushes will be producing serious harvests within 2 to 3 years. In late summer, when the heavy clusters turn a deep, almost black purple, you must harvest them, and this part is critical. Always cook them, because raw elderberries are never eaten. Boiled down, they become the famous dark purple syrup, jam, and wine loved across Europe and North America. That reputation is clinically earned. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of International Medical Research found that patients with influenza who took elderberry extract recovered significantly faster than the placebo group, with symptoms clearing around 4 days earlier on average. For a charming historical fact, the hollow twigs of the elder bush were carved into whistles and flutes by children for centuries, which is exactly why the plant's scientific name comes from a Greek word for a wind instrument. Now, before we jump into our top 10, I have to ask, have any of these made an appearance on your patio or balcony yet? Or are you wrestling with a container fruit problem right now? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this list is already saving you from another season of store-bought fruit, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more gardeners discover videos like this. Now, let's keep going. Breaking into the top 10 is one of the most reliable fruit trees you can trust in a pot, the dwarf European plum. While standard plum trees tower over your house, modern growers graft varieties like the famous Italian prune plum onto special dwarfing rootstocks, such as St. Julian A, which holds the tree at a perfectly manageable height while triggering earlier, heavier fruiting. European plums are hardy from zone 4 through 9, comfortably covering our range, and here is the beautiful part, they are completely self-fertile. You need exactly one tree, taking up exactly one pot, to guarantee enough fruit to bury your kitchen. Use a heavy 20-gallon container filled with rich, well-drained soil and expect your first substantial harvest in roughly 2 to 3 years. Harvest in late summer to early autumn, when the fruits turn a deep blue-purple, soften slightly, and release from the branch with the simplest twist. Eat them fresh, roast them into jam, or dry them, because this is the fruit that becomes the legendary prune. And the science on prunes is extraordinary. A 12-month clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that eating just 50 grams of prunes per day prevented the loss of hip bone mineral density in postmenopausal women, halting a process linked directly to osteoporosis. For a mesmerizing botanical fact, the dusty white bloom that coats a ripe plum is a microscopic layer of natural wax, the exact same optical trick that gives blueberries their otherworldly blue glow. At number 9, we have a fruit tree that does the unthinkable. It grows straight up like a fence post, the columnar apple. Varieties like the North Pole apple form a single narrow trunk, covered in short fruiting spurs, bearing full-sized apples within an arm's reach, while taking up less space than a tomato cage. These trees are hardy from zone 4 through 8 and are the single best apple choice for container growers. Here is the one rule you cannot break: apples refuse to do the job alone. A columnar apple needs a compatible partner to cross-pollinate, so plant a second columnar variety that blooms at the same time, like Scarlet Sentinel, and keep both pots within buzzing distance of each other. 2 fence posts of fruit is still less space than one ordinary apple tree. Give each tree a tall, deep 20-gallon pot, and expect your first heavy crop within 2 to 3 years. Harvest in late summer, when the apples pull away with a clean upward twist, and the health research is remarkable. A clinical study showed that eating 2 apples a day significantly lowered both total cholesterol and LDL, the bad cholesterol, in study participants. For a staggering botanical fact, every single columnar apple tree on Earth descends from one mutated branch discovered on a Macintosh tree in Canada in the 1960s, a genetic accident that compacted the tree into a living pole and gave balcony gardeners everywhere the chance to grow real apples. Sliding into number 8 is the crispest, juiciest surprise in the fruit world, the Asian pear. Also called the apple pear, this tree produces large, golden bronze fruits that shatter like a fresh apple, but explode with the fragrant juice of a pear, and dwarfing rootstocks keep the tree compact enough for a generous 20-gallon pot. Asian pears are hardy from zone 4 through 9, covering nearly all of our range. But here is the critical secret. Asian pears, like apples, need a cross-pollination partner, so pair your tree, such as the superb Shinko variety, with a second cultivar like Chojuro or Hosui, and you will be rewarded for your foresight. Expect the trees to take 3 to 4 years to fully establish and pour on a heavy crop. Now comes the harvest rule that breaks every other fruit rule you know. Asian pears ripen exclusively on the tree, and they never ever soften after picking. You harvest them when they are still hard as rocks, in late summer to early autumn, the moment the skin turns a rich golden bronze. That impossible crispness is exactly why Asian pears have been prized for 3,000 years, and in Japan, a flawless specimen is still one of the most expensive gift fruits money can buy. Packed with fiber and hydration and nearly fat-free, the Asian pear is the guiltless, sweet treat of the container orchard. And for a delightful fact, in ancient China, Asian pear trees were so treasured that emperors maintained dedicated pear orchards, and the trees were among the first fruit plants ever recorded in human literature. At number 7, we are bringing the juiciest flavor of summer into a pot, the dwarf peach. Peaches are the royalty of the stone fruit world. They are completely self-fertile, need only one tree to produce a mountain of fruit, and dwarf varieties stay small enough for a 15 to 20-gallon patio pot. Now the zone secret is what makes this entry so brilliant. For gardeners in the warm half of our range, zones 8 and 9, low-chill varieties like Tropic Beauty were bred to need just 150 chill hours, meaning they fruit reliably even in mild winters. And for the cool half, classic high-chill peaches take over seamlessly. Either way, a grafted dwarf peach will begin producing heavy harvests within just 2 years. Harvest your peaches when they blush a deep red and gold. Perfume the entire patio, and give slightly to a gentle squeeze. There is nothing on earth like a peach still warm from the sun, eaten over the sink with juice running down your chin. They also star in the classic summer cobbler, the grilled halves, and the simplest jam you will ever make. Beyond the flavor, peaches pack a serious payload of polyphenols and vitamin C. And for a mind-blowing genetic fact, the nectarine is not a different species at all. Peaches and nectarines are genetically identical except for a single recessive gene that controls whether the skin is fuzzy or smooth, meaning the fuzz on a peach is governed by exactly one switch in its DNA. Coming in at number 6 is the fastest producer on our entire list, the dwarf everbearing mulberry, particularly the celebrated Japanese variety called Isai. While standard mulberry trees become giants, Isai forms a compact, neat bush that is tailor-made for containers, stays well under 6 feet, and, incredibly, produces fruit continuously all summer long, rather than in a single brief flush. It is fully self-fertile, hardy from zone 5 through 10, and completely at home across our entire range. Give it a 15 to 20 gallon pot with ordinary well-drained soil and full sun, and here is the stunner. A grafted plant can begin pumping out fruit within its very first year. Harvesting is pure joy. The glossy black berries detach with the lightest touch the moment they are ripe, so you simply hold a bowl beneath the branches and brush them in. The flavor is a deep, wine-like sweetness with a hint of tartness that is explosive in smoothies, jams, and pies. And the science is genuinely impressive. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry demonstrated that compounds naturally found in mulberries, called DNJ, significantly suppress the spike in blood sugar that follows a meal, a finding of enormous interest to researchers fighting type 2 diabetes. For a fascinating historical fact, this humble fruiting bush is the only food that silkworms will eat, and the entire global silk industry, one of the most important trades in human history, literally runs on mulberry leaves. We are just a few steps away from our top 5, so do not take your eyes off the screen, because the number 1 spot will completely change the way you think about container gardening. If you have made it this far, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, and join us for the next orchard adventure. Now, let's dive into the top 5. Breaking into the top 5 is the most underrated superfruit on earth, the jujube, also known as the Chinese date. Here is the perfect match. The jujube is hardy from zone 6 through 9, an exact mirror of our range, and it will shrug off temperatures down to 20 degrees below zero. It grows into a sculptural small tree with fascinating zigzag branches armed with a pair of sharp thorns at every node, and it is so drought-tolerant that it borders on indestructible. The classic Lee variety is fully self-fertile, so one tree in a 15-gallon pot is all it takes. In just 2 to 3 years, the branches will bend beneath clusters of fruits that start green, then blush to a stunning mahogany with light brown freckles. And here is the harvesting magic unique to the jujube. The fruit is most delicious when you leave it on the tree until it begins to wrinkle, partially drying into a natural date. Eat it crisp like an apple, or wait, and taste the richest, chewiest brown sugar sweetness you have ever experienced. The health science is staggering. Researchers have measured the concentration of cyclic AMP in mature jujube fruit at more than 10 times the highest level ever recorded in any plant, with the jujube achieving the top spot among more than 180 plant species studied. For a historical fact, the jujube has been cultivated in China for over 4,000 years, making it one of the oldest domesticated fruit trees in the history of civilization. At number 4, we have one of the rarest and most intriguing fruits you will ever grow, the mysterious che, also called the Chinese melonberry. Native to China and Korea, the che is a small, elegant tree that produces hundreds of strange, bright raspberry-red fruits suspended between glossy dark leaves in late summer. And here is the jaw-dropper. The flavor is famously described by gardeners who grow it as tasting like a cross between a watermelon and a fresh fig, with a delicate sweetness that has to be experienced to be believed. The modern, seedless variety called Norris is the one to choose, and the tree is hardy from zone 6 through 9, a perfect fit for our map. Give it a 15 or 20-gallon pot, well-drained soil, and full sun, and expect your first heavy crop within 2 to 3 years. Harvest when the fruits turn a deep crimson and feel soft and heavy, and eat them fresh off the tree, or turn them into a stunning dark red jam, syrup, or wine. The che belongs to the same botanical family as the mulberry, and its American cousin is the Osage orange, whose rock-hard, rot-proof wood was so prized that it built the legendary bows of Native American hunters and the finest fencing of the frontier. For thousands of years, Chinese herbalists have also used the che's root bark and fruits in traditional medicine, making this one of the oldest quietly cultivated fruits in Asia. Taking the bronze at number 3 is the crown jewel of the ancient world, the dwarf pomegranate, particularly the exquisite miniature variety called Nana. This small tree is a spectacle in a pot, covered in flaming red trumpet flowers that give way to perfectly round, jewel-like fruits, each topped with a natural crown. The dwarf Nana is surprisingly cold-hardy, tolerating temperatures down to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which places it comfortably in our range from Zone 6B southward, and in colder pockets, you simply roll the pot into an unheated garage during a deep freeze. It is fully self-fertile, so one plant fruits alone. Give it a 10 to 15-gallon pot with sharply draining sandy soil, and within 2 to 3 years, you will see heavy set. Harvest when the leathery skin turns a deep glowing red and the fruits make a subtle metallic clicking sound when tapped, the traditional sign of perfect ripeness. Crack one open and pour out the glittering arils, those crimson jewels that garnish salads. Press into juice or reduce into a dark tangy molasses. The science is remarkable. A comprehensive scientific review determined that a single molecule found almost nowhere else in nature, pinnacleagen, accounts for nearly 87% of the antioxidant power of pomegranate juice. And for a legendary fact, the Spanish city of Granada is literally named after this fruit, whose scientific name means seeded apple, and the pomegranate still stands proudly on the city's coat of arms today. At number 2, we have the strangest and most defiant citrus on planet Earth, the trifoliate orange, in its legendary contorted form known as flying dragon. While every other citrus tree in existence panics at the first frost, the flying dragon is hardy down to Zone 5, meaning it will survive snowstorms that would murder a lemon tree 100 times over. In fact, it is the only citrus on Earth that completely drops every single leaf in winter, standing bare and defiant with its twisted, spiraling branches armed with fierce 1 to 2 inch thorns, while its small golden fruits glow like ornaments in the snow. It truly looks like a tree from a fantasy novel. Put it in a 15 to 20-gallon pot with sharp draining soil, and in 2 to 3 years, it will produce a stunning show of fragrant white spring blossoms and a heavy crop of fragrant little oranges. Now, a warning. Do not bite into one raw, the juice is mouth-puckeringly aggressively sour. But this fruit is a culinary secret weapon. Boiled down with sugar, it makes one of the most exquisite bitter marmalades in the world. Botanically, this tree is gold because its unmatched cold hardiness is the genetic backbone of nearly every modern cold-hardy citrus hybrid ever bred. And for a fascinating biological fact, its bare green branches keep photosynthesizing all winter long, quietly recharging the tree through months when no other citrus on the planet is doing a single bit of work. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is the most extraordinary fruit most Americans have never tasted, the pawpaw. Here is the staggering truth. The pawpaw produces the largest edible fruit native to all of North America, and it tastes exactly like a tropical smoothie, a wild blend of banana, mango, and vanilla custard, yet it grows flawlessly in temperate climates, hardy from Zone 4 through 9. It is the crown jewel of container fruit growing in our zones, and it will turn your patio into a conversation piece. Now, the 2 golden rules of pawpaw success. First, you need 2 different cultivars to cross-pollinate, since the pawpaw refuses to fertilize itself. Second, it despises root disturbance, so plant it into a large 20-gallon container with rich moisture-retentive soil and never ever repot it. Give it 3 to 4 years, and it will begin producing astonishing crops of large, lumpy green fruits that turn buttery yellow in early autumn. Harvest is pure magic. You simply wait until the fruit softens and drops into your hand, or picks off with the gentlest squeeze. Eat it chilled with a spoon, blend it into the legendary pawpaw smoothie, or fold it into custards and ice cream. The scientific community takes the pawpaw extremely seriously. Researchers at Purdue University demonstrated that rare compounds unique to the pawpaw, called acetogenins, show the ability to kill tumor cells that have become resistant to conventional anti-cancer drugs. And for a final historical fact, the founding father Thomas Jefferson himself grew pawpaw trees at Monticello, meaning you can grow the very same fruit that once hung in the orchard of an American president. That wraps up our list of the 15 best dwarf fruit trees and shrubs for zones 6 through 9. Which of these will earn a spot on your patio this year? Did I leave out a container fruit that you have grown successfully? Tell me in the comments below, along with the gardening topic you want me to tackle next. If this guide made you see your space in a whole new way, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another orchard adventure. I will see you in the next video. Happy growing!